AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
Hello, welcome to the Alldus podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. Today, as part of our AI in Action series, I'm speaking to Jack Lampka. Jack is the head of data at MSD. Jack, great to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me here. Hello.
Jack, for people that don't know your background, would you mind giving us a little bit of an overview about your journey to now?
Yeah, so I've been with MSD, a pharma company, for the past 3 years. And prior to that, I spent 20 years in the tech industry in roles that today you call data science. Back then, this was simply called statistical analysis. But it's roles spanning different functions, starting finance, marketing, corporate strategy, or true kind of predictive analytics team. And I've been now for 3 years at MSD leading the data science or data team.
Tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you can have in working AI in healthcare, because everyone around the world, healthcare is impacting them or their families. And it's one area that we really all want to see new innovations to help us all live a better life. Tell us a little about some of the applications of AI in healthcare and how people can actually start to see some of the benefits or the promise from that.
So I work for MSD Germany, which is the German organization focusing on marketing sales. Product development is done in other parts of the organization. And I'm mentioning this because you need to look at, when it comes to AI in healthcare, or specifically AI in pharma, you need to look at different parts. So you have product development, where there is lots of AI opportunities to supporting the chemists to developing the molecules, but there is opportunities also in production. So in general, similar like any other manufacturing organization, you can detect quality issues on the production line. That's where AI can help. And then on a marketing sales organization, it's things like identifying the right customer, identifying customer profiles, but also identifying marketing mix optimization. So this is topics that are true for any sales and marketing organization, whether it's healthcare or tech or banking. And another opportunity for that space in sales and marketing is next best action. So what would be the ideal next best activity with a physician based on the activities we had with her over the past 6 months, and based on her preferences to engage through specific channels or based on her preferences to engage with specific content.
And for people that don't necessarily know and they're not working within the AI healthcare industry, why is data in healthcare or applying AI in healthcare more challenging than maybe other industries?
That's a broad question, and actually, this will be its own podcast topic. But just to summarize, so for one, we have, like every organization, particularly in Europe, we have GDPR, but that's true for every industry. But on top of that, we have almost every country has its own regulations when it comes to healthcare. So there is no standardization, but things like limiting the information available to the healthcare players is a drawback or a limitation on what we can use. So in Germany, for example, pharma company is not allowed to have prescription data that physicians have or payers, insurance companies. There is the limitations that we don't know everything. When I compare data science activities in different functions, for example, in manufacturing, you have full data. If you have the right control systems in place, you can capture lots of data about your manufacturing line, about your supply chain. I would almost call it perfect data. Again, if you establish the right way to capture with different sensors the data. While when it comes to people, so understanding your customers, you never have the perfect data. So one of the predictive analytics parts when it comes to marketing sales, you predict the missing pieces. So you may have a subset of data describing your customers, how they, for example, engage online, but this is only a subset of that because it's really difficult to see how they engage in social media. You can see how they engage, how they present themselves on specific portals or on their own websites, on publications like PubMed, but you don't see physician. You cannot really track because of the limitations of assigning a Twitter profile to a particular person. So you don't know how they engage on social media, or you don't have the full picture. So you're dealing with lots of missing data. It's like a puzzle piece where you have only pieces of the puzzle. And the challenge for data science is to find the missing pieces. And that's what predictive analytics in the marketing sales space plays a critical role.
You also have so many different types of data from so many different areas, diverse points, and trying to merge them all together can sometimes be lions and lambs, which became very difficult because my son recently said to me, well, why don't you take your Fitbit data and add it into all the other parts of your data from your doctor records? You also have your hospital records. If you put them all together, you'll be able to access so many different points of reference, which could be really beneficial too. But it's not necessarily straightforward because, as you said, everyone has different rules and regulations that they need to adhere to and combine and have different people collaborate on as well. Tell me a little bit about some of the challenges to data science where you actually want to make a business impact, but you're working on the wrong problems or maybe not as impactful problems. And how important is the problem definition?
The way we are approaching kind of data science work at MSD is engaging with our business partners to formulate a business question or business hypothesis where we together with them identify how that business hypothesis can be answered with data. So we formulate the problem and engage, collaborate with our business partners to better understand what they need, not necessarily what they want, but what they need, and identify together with them how that need can be answered with data. What's required to be successful? What type of data is needed? What type of analysis could we perform? And many times we end up in situations where we identify what data is needed to be captured over the next 6-12 months to really answer that question, or what data we potentially need to purchase, acquire, external data that we currently don't have. So that's how we approaching addressing the business problems. But the other component you mentioned, it's data. The data cleansing, the data integration is it's taking a significant part in the work. That's why we're actually expanding the organization to add a data provisioning team that really addresses these issues, where we have, for example, one system like CRM. We have kind of a clean data about our physicians, but then we have our website where we provide information to the physicians, where we cannot match every visitor to that website. And that I'm talking about a specific website that's only available to physicians, not to the general public. But still, we cannot, it's not straightforward to match that set of visitors to our CRM. And then we have issues like in general with data cleansing, things like when emails sent, some of the physicians or the hospitals do a checking of all the links for spam or for any malware, by clicking on the links before the email is delivered to the physician. So we see that as clicks, but they are not clicks from people. They are clicks from a bot. So we had to actually establish a cleansing algorithm that removes these bot clicks to have the cleansed data to then start analyzing how physicians respond to our emails.
We've talked about some of the promise of AI in healthcare, some of the challenges of AI in healthcare, and we talked a little bit about the importance of working with different stakeholders, figuring out that problem definition and working from there. I always think of the Abraham Lincoln quote, where if he had an axe and he had a tree and he had 4 hours to cut it down, he spent 3 hours sharpening the axe. So that problem definition becomes really, really important as a strong foundation. Tell me a little bit about when you're looking at the future of healthcare and bringing it together and the promise that can come from it, what gives you the most excitement?
So I proactively joined healthcare after 20 years in tech because I see lots of opportunities across the different spaces, whether it's product development, whether it's diagnostics, whether it's manufacturing or marketing and sales. So there are opportunities to bring data science or AI to solve some of these challenges. And if you see the progress across different industries, healthcare still has lots of catch up to do. And whether it's things like next best action, whether this is some diagnostics where you can analyze X-ray images, for example, to identify cancers elements. There are so many opportunities to do. At the same time, it's a tricky space as IBM Watson Health has experienced. They're actually now about apparently selling that, where my guess is they expected perfect data. The data is not perfect. It's whether it's X-ray images or whether it's information about physicians or whether it's development of molecules. Chemistry is not perfect. So you need to take into account that you will never encounter perfect data. And then you need to take into account that there are so many stakeholders to address. So we have patients who take medication. We have physicians who prescribe it, and then we have payers who pay for it. So it's I call it healthcare trifecta, there are so many players that you need to take into account and need to convince them to implement some AI solutions. And you need to take into account that how you position that. So marketing your AI product becomes a critical component to succeed.
Jack Lampka, Head of Data at MSD, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.